$4 billion. That is the figure at the center of a Reuters investigation published this morning, Friday the 31st of July 2026, and it did not move through banks. It moved through crypto. At the heart of the reporting sits a Dubai-based exchange named as Shellbit, which investigators describe as a hub for a sprawling Iranian sanctions evasion network. What makes this case unusual is not just the size. It is the source of the money. Reuters reports that a large slice of these flows originated in illicit Iranian online gambling platforms, operations allegedly linked to Iran's military establishment. In other words, a betting business became a foreign currency machine for a country cut off from the global financial system. Within hours of publication, the story was picked up by CoinDesk, Iran International, Israel National News, and outlets across Asia. If you hold crypto, work in compliance, or simply want to understand how sanctions actually fail in practice, this is the case to study. The mechanics matter, because they are simpler than most people assume. Illicit gambling sites are near-perfect collection points. They take in enormous volumes of small deposits from ordinary users, the money arrives constantly, and nobody expects the transaction pattern to look tidy. Once those deposits are converted into crypto, usually stablecoins because they hold their value against the dollar, the funds can be pooled into a smaller number of wallets and pushed onward. Reuters describes those flows passing through the Dubai exchange, where they mixed with legitimate customer activity. That mixing is the entire point. It is the layering stage of classic money laundering, just executed on a public blockchain instead of through correspondent banks. The reporting also identifies roughly $676 million moving onward to Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange by volume. That detail matters enormously, because once value reaches a major global venue with deep liquidity, it can be swapped, withdrawn, and effectively cleaned into the mainstream financial system. So why Dubai? The United Arab Emirates has spent the past 5 years deliberately building itself into a global crypto hub, with a dedicated regulator, the Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority, and a licensing regime designed to attract exchanges that felt unwelcome elsewhere. That strategy has been commercially successful. It has also created a concentration of risk. Dubai sits roughly 150 kilometers across the Gulf from Iran and has centuries of trading history with it. The emirate has long been the main commercial pressure valve for Iranian business, through gold, through electronics, through informal hawala-style money transfer. Crypto simply digitized an existing channel. The UAE was removed from the Financial Action Task Force grey list in February 2024 after tightening its anti-money laundering framework, and today's reporting will be read in Paris, Washington, and London as a direct test of whether those reforms hold when the volumes get this large. This lands at a genuinely tense moment. United Nations sanctions on Iran were reimposed in late September 2025 through the snapback mechanism, restoring restrictions on arms, missiles, and financial dealings that had been suspended under the 2015 nuclear agreement. Iran is therefore under the heaviest formal international pressure it has faced in a decade. Separately, The Telegraph reported this week that American and Israeli officials have discussed the possibility of a land blockade of Iran, a scenario that would tighten physical trade routes even further. Set those two things side by side and the significance of a $4 billion crypto channel becomes obvious. When conventional trade and banking are squeezed, the incentive to build digital workarounds rises sharply. Sanctions enforcement is not a wall. It is a cost. Networks like the one described today exist to lower that cost, and the returns on doing so are enormous. The practical impact is already spreading. Compliance teams at major exchanges will spend this weekend rescreening counterparties, reviewing historic deposit addresses and checking exposure to any wallet clusters named in the reporting. Blockchain analytics firms such as Chainalysis, Elliptic and TRM Labs will be tagging addresses, and once those tags propagate, funds sitting downstream can be frozen without warning. Tether, the issuer of the largest dollar stablecoin, has frozen well over $2 billion of assets across previous enforcement actions, and it can do the same again with a single transaction. For retail traders, the risk is indirect but real. Buying tokens through peer-to-peer channels at an unusually good price can leave you holding tainted coins that an exchange will not accept. For Binance specifically, the $676 million figure is reputationally awkward, coming after the firm's 2023 settlement with United States authorities that included a $4.3 billion penalty and ongoing monitoring obligations. Expect movement quickly. The most likely near-term step is designation. The United States Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control routinely adds specific wallet addresses, company names and individuals to its sanctions list within weeks of credible public reporting, and it has done so repeatedly for Iranian networks since 2018. The UK's Office of Financial Sanctions Implementation and the European Union frequently follow. A second likely step is pressure on the UAE itself, either through diplomatic channels or through the Financial Action Task Force review process, to demonstrate that its licensing regime can suspend an offending firm. Watch also for banking de-risking, where correspondent banks quietly withdraw services from any institution touching the named entities. That is often faster and more painful than formal sanctions. Finally, expect the gambling angle to draw scrutiny in its own right, because illicit betting platforms have become one of the fastest growing sources of laundered value in the digital asset economy. Looking ahead over the next few months, the direction of travel is clear. Regulators have concluded that policing individual transactions is hopeless and that the effective choke points are the exchanges and the stablecoin issuers. That means tougher licensing, more aggressive address screening and a growing willingness to freeze first and ask questions later. The European Union's markets in crypto assets rules are now in force, and the transfer of funds regulation already requires identifying information to travel with crypto payments. Expect the UAE to respond publicly, because its entire pitch to institutional capital depends on being seen as clean rather than convenient. The uncomfortable trade-off for ordinary users is that every tightening of this kind reduces privacy and adds friction for people doing nothing wrong. That tension, between open networks and enforceable sanctions, is the defining regulatory argument of this decade, and today's reporting has just made the case for the enforcers considerably stronger. Here's what to remember from Friday the 31st of July 2026. A $4 billion figure attached to a single Dubai exchange tells you that sanctions evasion through crypto is no longer a fringe activity conducted by amateurs. It is industrial in scale, funded by real revenue from gambling operations, and routed through venues that also serve millions of legitimate customers. 2 lessons follow. First, if you trade digital assets, treat the provenance of your coins as a genuine risk, not a technicality, because freezes happen after the fact and there is rarely an appeal. Second, judge exchanges by the quality of their controls rather than by their fee schedule or their marketing. The story will develop over the coming weeks through designations, denials, and possibly license action. Follow the wallet tagging and the regulator statements, because that is where you will see whether this reporting changes behavior or simply pushes the money somewhere quieter.